Hey, my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I like to start off every morning with a fresh, black, hot cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. And of course, my new favorite coffee mug, which is the logo of my channel, Fiona's Coffee Talks. Hold the cream! Black, no more Kahlua, because she don't drink anymore. I know, right? Every time I say that, I'm like, wow, how'd that happen? But I still like to think of my favorite quote of the century, which is by Oscar Wilde. And that used to be my other favorite coffee mug before I got this one. And the quote of the century is where he says, life is too important to be taken seriously. So lighten up, folks. Anywho, before I jump into today's topic, you hopefully just saw the video that I posted right before this one on Gay Pride and the Gay Pride month, the month of June and all of that, and how we're not going to have much of one this year, obviously with the pandemic. And I mentioned the Stonewall Courage Award that I received. And it was my intention when I shot the video to actually have the award as part of the display. And I realized afterwards, oh shit, Dizzy bitch, you forgot to put it out there. So if I may, I just want to show you, this was the actual award that was given to me that evening. It's quite nice. I have it as part of my kitchen decor. And it says, Bronx Pride, Reverend Magora E. Kennedy Stonewall Courage Award presented to James Palacio, Empress Fiona St. James, for your courageous service and heartfelt dedication to the LGBTQ communities in the Bronx, July 2015. So I'm going to put that back there. But yes, I meant to have that as part of my last setup. And I just wanted you guys to see it. So there you have it. Okay, so today's topic is, drumroll, mental health. And, I was thinking, I wanted to talk about that because with everything that's going on, I know it's a lot. It's a totally different world. It has been for the last 2.5 months. And I can't help but think that there are people out there that maybe are, myself included, that are not having the easiest time with this. And I am fortunate, knock on wood, that I do have a therapist. And this is a therapist that I started seeing this past January because I am a firm believer that having a psychotherapist is amazing. I did a video on that one before. Hopefully you guys have seen it. And, I remember in that video I spoke about the fact that way back when, decades and decades ago, it was always looked upon as like such a bad thing. If you had a therapist, it's like, why, are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? Whereas I think it's so much more commonplace these days, in recent years, in recent decades anyway, where no, it's just kind of great to have a professional friend to speak to. And in my case, I've always been the therapist to all of my close circle of friends, but I've always hated bothering people with my things. And I just kind of think it's a good practice. If you're going to maintain your physical health, why not maintain your mental health? So I had a therapist, but then I stopped seeing him. And for whatever reason, as this year was approaching, like sometime in December, I knew that I had the option of going back to the place that I had gone to before, ICP, Institute of Contemporary Psychotherapy, over by Columbus Circle. So I was within the time frame when I stopped seeing the one that I had, where I could go back and not have to go through the whole intake process all over again. So I did, and I started seeing a therapist in January. I still see him now. We see each other every Friday afternoon. Of course, we do it virtually now. But, I think to myself, like, thank God that, like, if I didn't have a therapist, if I did not already have him in place, I would definitely want to have one. And, like, I know you see on the news that they say, like, psychotherapy is available for everyone because, this is a lot to deal with. And, it could kind of fuck with you, and hence the mental health. But I'm just, knock on wood, fortunate that, like, unbeknownst to me, kind of got the jump start on it. So like, once this happened, I stopped seeing him in person, but like I said, we see each other every week via like Zoom or WhatsApp. So I guess the whole point of this is it's okay for us to be feeling what we're feeling, and it's totally okay to like seek therapy or like, seek a mental health professional to speak to and to help you through these times. Because, the stigma, I don't think is there like it used to be. I still think maybe to a certain degree a little bit, but it's a world of difference now, and especially now with everything that's going on. If you didn't think you needed one before, or maybe you were on the fence, and maybe now with everything that's going on, you feel that you do, that is totally fine. Don't don't freak out over that, or don't allow yourself to like think that makes you this or that. What it makes you actually is a human being. And as human beings, this is not normal what we're going through. And being in isolation, especially if you live alone, because as a gay single male, I live alone. So it's very different if you have, a family or a spouse or significant other or kids or even a roommate. Then you're not alone, because you're physically in the same home with those individuals. That's funny too, because I've had that conversation with other people, and like on the one hand I think, like if I like, let's make believe I was heterosexual and had a spouse and kids, if you have a family living together, and if anyone is going out there and still having to work, then you take the chance of like, someone potentially catching it and bringing it back home. So there is something to be said, about the flip side of all of that I am living alone, because then I think that lessens the chance of, outside anyone going out there. I mean, I go out there periodically, but, as someone who is used to jumping on the subway 6, if not 7 days a week to go into Manhattan, and I've said this before, in Sunnyside, like, 10 minutes outside of the city. And it's been, the 10 weeks or so that I've been home, I think I've been on the subway twice to go into Manhattan, just because I had to like check my P.O. box or run errands, things like that. And that is so like not a normal thing for me to do. So like nothing is really normal. And then I think once everything lightens up and things start reopening, I think there's going to be, a new normal. And the new normal, I don't think it can be what it once was, and that's okay. And, when you think of that in itself is a mind fuck. So I'm grateful, that I have my therapist that I see once a week. I look forward to seeing him. I'm fortunate also that I have close friends and family that I could speak to about this. And, it's also been a great opportunity to like catch up with people and catch up with friends that you haven't spoken to in a while. And, and although I'd like to think I'm handling this well and I'm being as optimistic as I can, I'm only human, and I'll admit it, I keep myself busy. But I have moments where like, when I actually slow down and stop and I breathe for a minute, where I'm like, wow, this is kind of fucked up. Like when I really think about it, and I've had moments where I like will get upset, but I've also, knock on wood, I've always been very pragmatic about things. And the reality is, yeah, it's upsetting. I know it is. There's no disputing that. But the pragmatic part of me kind of says, well, there ain't really shit I could do about it, is there? It's what it is. So rather than sit here and keep myself in that state of being upset, let's flip it around and, what's the positive to this? Well, the positive is what I've said before, reinvent yourself, be reflective, think about things, think outside the box. What can you do to, to learn a new language, take webinars, do stuff like that to keep you busy, and or don't, or just, binge watch Netflix, watch those shows that you've wanted to watch, and that in itself is entertaining. I mean, I've done that too. I binge watched Dead to Me, all of the entire series of Schitt's Creek, and believe it or not, that escape in itself is a form of, helping my mental health. That is so important. I've spoken about like exercising and eating right, and I've been very disciplined with that, and that's going to be a video coming up. But anywho, the moral of this story is, yes, mental health is just as important as everything else. Don't beat yourself up if you are, feeling upset about this. Try not to like get into these like arguments with people on social media. That in itself, I go on, you go on Facebook, and half the time you have people at each other's throats, and because it's become such a political thing with, people who support number 45. I don't even like saying his name. I don't, but, he does whatever he does. People will say whatever about it, will point out facts, and then the supporters sit here and suddenly it's a fight. And I'm like, ugh, enough with that shit already. I mean, it's what it is, but all of that even becomes a bit much after a while. So anyway, all we can all do is hang in there, seek the professional help if you want, or seek out friends, speak to friends. But if you're alone and if you're feeling a certain way, I hope that you are fortunate enough to, if you don't have a therapist, that you at least have friends or family or close ones that you could speak to about this, because not speaking about it and, keeping it all bottled up inside, I think that could be more detrimental than anything. So that is my 2 cents on that. I just want everyone to be fine. Ultimately, I want things to go back to as normal as they can be sooner than later. And, the most important thing is that everyone, stays safe and healthy not only physically, but mentally too. So mental health, try to keep that as good as you can, and go out there and get a mental health professional, a therapist. If you feel that it's going to help you, I think I'm all for it. All right, guys, that's the scoop. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I love doing these videos. This in itself, for me, is therapeutic. And me doing these videos and having this channel is, oh my God, it's like a lifesaver, because it gives me a chance to like really speak about things and be honest about my own feelings. So thank you for indulging me. Don't forget, hit the notifications, thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't. And I look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Till the next time, love you, signing off.